Hi, my name is Joe, and welcome to my YouTube channel where I review martial arts books and touch on some other martial arts related subjects. So today I'm going to be reviewing Complete Kendo by John Donahue. Now, Mr. Donahue is an academic, he's an anthropologist. Um, he's had a number of academic positions, including doing a martial arts exhibit at the Smithsonian Museum. He's authored both fiction and nonfiction books on martial arts. I think this is the only one of his that I have, but I really enjoyed it. So I have a confession to make, and that is that I am sort of obsessed with sword fighting, but when it comes to sport fencing, whether that's Western Olympic style fencing or kendo, I'm not as enthusiastic about it. But this book, man, I was stationed in Japan for 3.5 years, and the enthusiasm that this author brought to the book has sort of made me regret that I didn't find an opportunity to do some kendo when I was there. Um, the book is structured in a way to mirror Miyamoto Musashi's Gono Rensho, the Book of Five Rings. And I thought that was a very interesting choice by the author. My initial reaction was like, well, that's sort of pretentious, isn't it? Like trying to be like Musashi. But he had to divide the book somehow. And I'm I guess this way is as good a way as any. So he starts off with a chapter called Ground. That chapter is on equipment and environment, including rituals for addressing and taking care of the kendo gear, the sparring gear. Like there's a specific ritual for how you lay out the mask and where you put the gloves in relation to that. The second chapter was on water, which covered the most fundamental kendo movements, including things like how to properly enter the dojo. Um, enter this way, bow over here, do this. They also talked about the paired training drills and gave an overview of what sparring entails in kendo. The chapter on fire covers the shiai, or competition, in kendo, and he covers it from both a physical and a psychological perspective. So that would be, for instance, you need to be brave in order to execute proper techniques when someone's trying to smack you in the head with a bunch of bamboo, even though you got a mask on. So that would be, I'm sort of dumbing it down a bit, but that's the sort of thing that he talks about in that chapter. The chapter titled Wind covers Kendo kata. There are kata in Kendo. He covers the first five in detail, and he also goes over the history of Kendo of the kata in Kendo, its use as a training methodology, and he also notes that some Kendo kata involve actually a pair of swords. Those are beyond the first five, so they don't get covered here, unfortunately. The chapter on Void focuses a lot on the Do aspect of Kendo and Kendo's relationship with Zen Buddhism. Well, I'd say more focus on the Zen than the Buddhism. In that, he also covers a little bit of the history of some of the more famous swordsmen, including Miyamoto Musashi. I think there's Yagyu Munenori was another fellow that he covered, and talks about how how the things that they did related to the development of modern Kendo. Among the pros, this is a pretty dense book. Um, it's you, I got it. It's that big, but there aren't a whole lot of pictures or illustrations. So it's a lot of talking about, you know, some pretty in-depth, but also very clear um, information on this is how this thing is done and this is why it is done. It's not superfluous at any point with its language, um, but it still packs a lot into a relatively small space. And if you are into like the cultural aspects of Do, of the martial way, and the relationship of Zen to Japanese martial arts, Kendo in particular, there's a lot of that that gets covered in this book. So if you're into that, you're probably going to enjoy that. The only real con that I have to bring up is that it's sort of light on Kendo technique. We do get illustrations of some of these techniques, particularly in the kata section, but they're not. You're not given, for instance, 5 pictures showing how to do a cut and an explanation underneath each picture about, in this position you're doing this thing, in this position you're doing that. So you are given some written description of a lot of that, but not a whole lot of accompanying photos or illustrations.
Hi, it's Joe from the future. So, when I made this video initially, one thing that I wanted to include but completely forgot about, because there was sort of a dearth of illustrations, particularly with the paired techniques, um, I went online and was looking for some examples of the different drills and exercises. I came across a YouTube channel called Kendo TV. So there's going to be a link in the description and hopefully a card up here right about now. So if you want to get a good visual example of that process of the partner drills or like anything visual that's going on in Kendo without sort of the um, frenetic pace of the competition, then I would recommend this channel to check out. So anyway, back to your regularly scheduled um, book review. Thanks.
So, who would I recommend this to? Again, if you have an interest in the more quote unquote spiritual side of martial arts, if you enjoy linking Zen to martial arts practice, this would be a pretty good book for that. I think it's a solid introduction to Kendo. I think from what I've seen, there are more books out there on, the technique, the more technical side of Kendo. But when it comes to in expressing what the spirit of Kendo practice feels like, I think this book does a really excellent job for that. So if that is what you're interested in, this would be the book for you. I guess I'll just wrap it up with a little interesting fact I came across when I was doing research for this. And so I looked up how much Kendo sparring gear was. And the prices range from $150 to $780 from what I was able to find. And we're just talking the bogu, the helmet, the chest guard. We're not talking the hakama, the skirt. We're not talking about the gi. We're just talking the sparring gear itself. I think the average cost was around $500. So why isn't it more popular? because it's $500 and then some just to get started. Um, you know, I think there was a mention in this book about um, how the American Kendo Association, and this was in 1999. The American Kendo Association has 2,000 students around the country. I'm like, 2,000. You got more Taekwondo students than that in your average metropolitan area. So that's I think that's interesting. I sort of feel like it's a shame. I wish that Kendo gear was more affordable because, again, this book has got me so excited about Kendo. Credit to the author for that. Um, but hopefully, there will be more opportunities for Kendo to be more popular outside of Japan in the future. Anyway, that's all the review I have for today, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you.